All right, so I'm here with Emberlea, and she is the producer of Shire TV, and she's also a Free State Project participant, correct?
Yes.
And also an anarchist. And so I was curious, why are you an anarchist? And what does anarchism mean to you?
Well, to me, anarchy is the absence of rulers. So I don't believe I need anyone to tell me how to live my life or to take forcibly from me my property. And it truly means, in my opinion, anarchy is actual true freedom. And with that, with freedom comes responsibility. So it also means being responsible for my life and my actions and my choices. And so I honestly, believe that people can live without rulers, without anyone telling them what to do, and can make moral and rational decisions based on their own sense of identity and personal responsibility. So, we don't need a government to tell us what to do. We don't need anybody, outside of our parents when we're children who, their role is to guide us and to teach us how to be responsible adults and to cooperate in society and, whatever society you choose to live in. Because, just because I'm an anarchist and I want to live in my world without a ruler or without government doesn't mean that someone else can't live with a government or rulers if they so choose to. So I don't want to impose my will on other people, just as I don't want anyone else to impose their will on myself or my family.
Okay, so so you don't think we need government, but I mean, who's going to protect us from outside invaders, or who's going to keep the law? I mean, what if doesn't this equal chaos? I mean, who's going to keep people from breaking in your house, or keep mayhem from breaking loose? I mean, without a government, who's going to take care of the poor? I mean, aren't there all these issues that?
Well, there are a lot of issues that are out there that can be addressed by a voluntary society, one where we cooperate with each other, and government does a very poor job of taking care of people anyway. Do you think that welfare is the appropriate system for taking care of the poor? It doesn't do a good job of taking care of the poor. How can you steal from one group of people to give to another group of people? It just doesn't work. I believe that people are good for the most part, and that they want to give to the poor. Long before welfare wasn't involved, long before we were forced to, have our money taken from us, there used to be mutual aid societies. Like the Catholic Church has a ministry that helps the poor. So there is a role for, community services to come about without government. There's lots of groups that are out there, volunteer associations that have nothing to do with the government that take care of people. So the poor will be taken care of. And I think the government really has fostered a disunity in the local communities anyway. People don't talk to each other anymore like they used to. You can walk down the street and see people and never even say a word to each other anymore. And that to me is really, really sad. And as for the fact of, if it's gonna be chaos, no, it won't be chaos. I mean, right now, we have a military and we have a police force, but if I'm getting robbed, if somebody decides that they want to rob me, and I call the police, how quickly are the police going to get there? Their job is to investigate after the crime has happened, not prior. They're not supposed to be there before the crime happens or, right when the crime is happening. They obviously can't be. So
wasn't there an incident in New York not too long ago where a cop shot 9 pedestrians trying to shoot one guy who was like 8 to 6 feet away? I mean, do I have that correctly?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that particular story. So I hadn't heard of that, but that does happen. If they're chasing a suspect down the street and they just shoot randomly, on a crowded street, yeah, they're going to hit pedestrians. 'Cause they don't care anymore. The police simply do not care about you. And if, like I said, if I was getting robbed right now and I called the police, the robbers would be gone long before the police ever got here.
Right.
And so for protection, I have dogs and I have a gun. I can protect myself.
Yeah.
I don't need the police to protect me. I don't need the military to protect me because, Americans tend to think that, everyone wants what we have. And that is so untrue. Many cultures reject what immorality and decadence seems to be. So I don't see other people around the world clamoring so badly to have what America has. I mean, we've exported everything from McDonald's to Gap jeans to Nike tennis shoes around the world. So what more do they really need from us? Do they need our land? I mean, the corporations and the government have managed to rape most of the land anyway and to take most of it from us, from people that lived here. And I'm talking specifically about the Indians in that instance. But, anarchy is not chaos. And that's what a lot of people seem to think, that it's without rules or laws. And that is just not true.
Well, why try to impose your anarchy? And maybe some people want their state and their welfare system. I mean, why not just go move into the brush somewhere? Isn't there some land that's not owned by some state or something? I mean,
no. If it's not owned by a private person or a corporation, then it has to be owned by somebody. Apparently,
right? And even
the
then,
the state is now a somebody. If
right.
you can victimize the state and go to jail because you smoked a plant, and the victim is the state, then the state can own property as well. If you're going to live in that kind of dream world where the state is an actual entity, and no, I am not going to go live in the woods just because some people disagree with how I want to live my life. I don't, like I said before, I don't care if you want state government. If that's what you want, fine. You can have a village that's 5 miles away, and that village has government and has politicians and has all of that, as much as you want it. And then 5 miles over here, 5 miles away from you, over here in this spot, is a community that doesn't have any government, that functions just fine and doesn't need your government. And we can coexist peaceably, you with your government, us without our government, with no problem whatsoever.
Surely you understand that, if you're dealing with small groups and stuff, and I do kind of need to bring this to a close soon, so I'll give you another minute here, and then I got to close it. But surely admit that, the more people you have, like when we're living in band societies, sure, it might be more likely to have a voluntary society, when there's only like 30 to 50 people. But when you got, a civilization that's, millions strong, how do you expect to live without a government and with all those people? I mean, with all these different wills, pointing in different directions, these different desires and ideas about how things ought to be. How does that work in a voluntarious society?
Well, it works much in the same way that society works now, is just the absence of government force. You would have, you wouldn't have IRS agents, hunting you down, taking your money from you to give to poor people, or really to not so poor people, or to fund wars all over the world. So there wouldn't be, in a voluntary society, in a true voluntary society of a whole country, and as big as a country as the United States is, there wouldn't be any aggressive state violence against other people or the people of this certain geographical area. So it would be perfectly fine to have 1 million plus or even 300 million people living in as much as we do today, just without the force that the government uses. You can have, communities can have their own police forces if they want. You can pay people to do that for you. You don't need the state to steal money from you to pay for police.
Right. Well, thanks. Appreciate it. Peace out, everybody.